Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Meg. I'm going to do something different with the PGK podcast today. So many of you have written in wonderful questions to me that I'm going to take this podcast to answer them. I hope this is a lot of fun. Some of you are going to agree with the answers I give and love them, and some of you may hate them. That's okay. I hope that in this podcast, there's something for everybody, and maybe you identify with some of the problems that other listeners are identifying with. I have an almost 10-year-old son who was born out of wedlock, with a father I had no interest in staying with. The father and I have never had a relationship, and since I've gotten married and my husband and I have a healthy relationship, we try to make my son feel completely enveloped in our family. My son's father has never been in constant communication with his son. Every once in a while, he texts me and asks about him, and sometimes he wants to set up a Skype call. But this is very infrequent, maybe twice a year. My son has not seen his father in person for over 4 years. My son's 10th birthday is arriving, and his father has just asked me if it's okay if he shows up to surprise my son. He's asked me to keep it from my son. If he does actually show up, every other potential visit has been derailed in some way by the guy. I'm wondering if this whole situation is healthy. The whole situation is 100% unhealthy. Don't you dare let that guy show up at your son's 10th birthday and surprise him. Here's why. Your son doesn't see this man as his father. Hopefully he sees your husband as his dad. To him, this man is somebody in the distance who wants to connect with him, that he may like or he may not like, that he feels hurt by. And this man is incredibly selfish and incredibly immature. He's really a jerk. Any dad that has a son and is not willing to take part in raising that son needs to go. Now, many parents or biological parents will fight for an opportunity to see their kids when they want to see their kids. This is completely unfair. Think of life from your 10-year-old son's perspective. First of all, he's at his 10th birthday party. He's excited to celebrate his 10th birthday, thinking back over the year, having friends, having other family. And this stranger walks in and he is beside himself. All of a sudden, his attention goes away from the fun and other family and friends and onto this guy, and he's stopped dead in his tracks. Second of all, this guy is going to try to pretend to communicate with him in a healthy, fatherly manner. Not going to happen. This guy wants only to do what he wants to do to make himself feel better. He's not a dad. He's a stranger to your son. And if your son wants to reconnect with this guy when he's over 18, fine. But until that time, this is a very unhealthy situation, and you need to tell your son's bio dad to back off. Unless, of course, there's some legal issues involved. So if there are legal issues involved, then you need to go and talk with a lawyer and get things squared away in court. Hi, I'm a married Christian father of 2 boys, 17 and 15. Our 15-year-old is a strong-willed teen, and my wife and I feel powerless at times. He doesn't seem to listen and or appreciate all we do for him. He always complains that we're too strict because we don't allow him to stay at his friend's house as late as all of his other friends are allowed to stay. Please give me some guidance. I want to tell you one thing, and here's where you're wrong. You hold all the power in this boy's life. He's 15. He can't drive himself to school. He can't pay for anything. I mean, maybe he can have a job and he can pay for a few little things. Chances are he has a cell phone that you pay for. Chances are that he has some video games that you pay for. And you know that the home he lives in, you pay for. So you have all the power in this child's life. What I think is going on here is that you don't want to give him some solid boundaries because you don't like conflict. You don't like it when he has a temper tantrum. Listen, all teen boys and girls have temper tantrums when they're told what they can't do. You need to set some firm boundaries with this child. If he backtalks, consequences come. And I mean consequences like his phone's taken away for a week or two. Serious consequences that really bother him. If he complains about going to friends' houses and complains that you're a mean person, another consequence. He can't go to a friend's house for 1 month. And third, if he speaks to you or his mom in a disrespectful tone, it's very important to train kids how to speak, because that's how they will speak to others in the future, their wives, their kids, their employers, employees, whatever. So his speech and how he speaks is critically important. That means if he uses words or tone of voice around your home that you don't like, he gets a consequence very strictly. He has to do chores around the house. I had one brilliant father who, whenever his teenage sons acted up, they had to stack wood or they had to move wood. So you need to really get about the business of setting some rules with your son and letting him know the consequences. And when he acts up, you set the consequence and don't you dare back down. This kid has so many privileges that he doesn't need to have. And you need to realize that you have all of the power and you are the dispenser of those privileges. So your son doesn't respect you. He won't respect you until you lay down the law. End of story. Dear Dr. Meeker, our 9-month-old struggles with riding in his rear-facing car seat. Whenever we go somewhere, he screams and cries and can't be calmed down. He also wakes up once or twice a night to breastfeed. He goes to bed around 7 and wakes up at 6 a.m. When he was 2 months old, he was waking once or twice, but he hasn't progressed much since then. Sometimes I'm so tired, I fall asleep while feeding him. I'm not sure if he's truly hungry or if he wants comfort from mom and from breastfeeding. Any tips for helping him sleep through the night? Yes. First of all, when it comes to riding in the car seat, there's really nothing you can do. He's got to be in the car seat. He has to be rear facing. He can scream all he wants. So I encourage you to put some music on. He will come around and realize that crying doesn't get him anywhere. Truth be told, this is pretty common because riding in a rear facing car seat is pretty uncomfortable, particularly for kids who are fairly tall. Regarding the sleep, this kid's got your number. At 9 months of age, no child should be waking up once or twice a night to feed. Here's what's happening. Your son's stomach has gotten used to being fed once or twice a night. And that means that whenever he is sleeping, his stomach will begin to growl around the time he's used to feeding. So he'll cry. And that may happen once or twice, even 3 times a night. What you need to do is break the habit. Think about this. If somebody came into your bedroom at 3 a.m. and gave you your favorite food, after 3 nights, your stomach would begin to grumble, wanting that food. So this is really a habit, not of need. It's a habit of feeding during the nighttime. So you need to stop that feeding. Now, does he need comfort and reassurance from his mom in the night? No, he gets plenty of that during the day. The best thing that you can do for this child is get your own rest. You said that you're so tired you often fall asleep feeding him. I bet you're tired. Now, so it's very important that you train him to sleep through the night. You put him to bed. If he cries at 1 or 2 or 3 and he really screams, he stands up and he shakes the side of his crib, he's having a temper tantrum. He's not telling you he has a need. He's screaming, "Mom, get in here. I want to breastfeed." Does he need to do it? No. Does he need the comfort? No. You can give him plenty during the day. And I will guarantee you that once he realizes that you're not going to come in after 3 or 4 nights, he's going to sit right back down and go to sleep. But again, this is a pattern that's been established by you feeding him in the night. I totally get why you do it. We've all been exhausted, but I'm really wanting to look out for you here because you need to be a well-rested mom. Hi, Dr. Meg. I'm a 32-year-old mom of 2 wonderful girls, ages 2.5 and 8 months. Both of them are an absolute delight. To be the best mom I can be, how do you balance multiple children to ensure each child feels special and gets the necessary time and attention from mom to keep the jealousy monster away? Great question, because anybody who has more than one child struggles with this. We all do. Here's what you need to remember. First of all, even though one of your kids gets less attention from you, they also get the attention from their sibling. And this is very important. Kids learn a lot by growing up with siblings. So you need to remember that. Second of all, when one of them is asleep, try to spend some time with the other one. I imagine your 8-month-old takes a nap. Maybe sometimes your 2.5-year-old doesn't. So while your 8-month-old is down for a nap, go play something with your 2.5-year-old. Now, I encourage you to think about something here. You don't need to spend a lot of one-on-one time with your kids. 15 or 20 minutes is just enough to let them know that you're there, that you see them, that you're continuing attachment with them, that you love them. So don't feel that you need to spend half a day with your 2.5-year-old or even with your 8-month-old. If you want to be with them, they're going to know it. They want to know that you like them, that you want their company, and that you cherish your time with them. And don't worry about spending less time with one child than the other. Remember, as they grow, you're going to have more time to spend with one, and it's going to be uneven sometimes. Maybe your 10-year-old has a lot of demands your 8-year-old doesn't have, and that's okay. Dear Dr. Meg, I'm writing to receive help for my almost 11-year-old son. He's a bright boy full of energy. We adopted him into our family at the age of 8 months. During his younger years, under 5, he was easy to parent. He was happy, compliant, and he had just a few issues. However, the last few years, he's been difficult. It seems that he really struggles with self-confidence issues and a strong sense of shame. He'll say things like, "I'm a failure," or "I'm stupid." He doesn't take instruction well, for example, even in school, because he takes this as he's failed in not knowing something rather than as something to learn. When he gets in a situation when he's failing, he'll almost self-destruct. And by self-destruct, I mean fall apart. Say he missed hitting a baseball in his baseball game. He'll fall on the ground, cry, and carry on. He would even yell at other players as if it was their fault. By the end of the game, his teammate, who was batting ahead of him, for example, struck out, ending the game. They lost. My son shouts at him, "You failed us." I was mortified. Not only does he use these harsh words on himself, but on everyone around him. In our house, he won't typically do this with my husband or I, but he will with his 3 brothers. This is not the way my husband and I talk to one another in our home. What can I do? Well, first of all, you sound like a great mom because you're very attentive to him. And that's critically important if you want to parent well. You need to study your kids' behaviors. You need to study when there's a change or a transition. And it seems to me that you've got your finger on the pulse of him emotionally and physically and what he's doing at school. First of all, he's pre-pubertal. Now, in pre-pubertal boys, just like with girls, their emotions are up and down. They feel insecure. They feel that everyone is staring at them. They feel very uncomfortable with themselves. And when kids feel uncomfortable with themselves, they strike out at other people, even themselves. So that is all normal. What isn't normal is his meltdowns on a field in front of his friends. That lets me know that he doesn't have any control of his emotions. He feels something and he lets it out. And what you can help him do is you can train him, say, when he's acting out or he's upset or he's angry, you stop him and say, "You know what, honey? Are you mad? Are you frustrated? Are you worried? And are you angry with your brother? Are you angry at your teacher?" Get him to identify how he feels very, very simply, and then how he feels towards another person, if that's what's going on. Do you feel angry at yourself? Then so you teach him to identify his feelings. Then you go on to teach him what to do with those feelings. Remember, he just spews things out and doesn't know what to say. So you say to him, "Honey, when you're on the field and you feel like you've really messed up, in your mind, you want to tell yourself nasty things. Remember, all kids mess up on the field. So when those thoughts come in your head, you need to talk to those thoughts. You need to say to them, wait a minute, I'm not a mess up. I'm not a bad kid. I feel like it, but I'm not. And I go on and I don't have the meltdown. I keep playing baseball. Now, this is going to take time. Okay, he's not going to learn this in a month or 2 or 3. He may learn this over a year or 2. The other thing that you want to do is you're seeing that he has a sense of shame. Does this have to go back to his adoption? Maybe, maybe not. He's a little young to work that out. That gets worked out a little more during the teen years, the mid-teen years, when he can articulate how he feels. In the meantime, it's really important. Do not feel sorry for him. Treat him just like you would your other boys. And if he's mean to other people, he needs to have a consequence. Okay, you can't let him off the hook just because he has meltdowns, just because he has no emotional regulation, and just because he's adopted. So you can't feel sorry for him. I would start there. Don't assume there's a lot of pathology there, okay? You don't want to pathologize his behaviors and his moods. So first, you're going to teach him how he feels, very specifically in a situation where he's happy, sad, lonely, whatever. Then you're going to teach him what he can do with those feelings, how he can respond in a healthy way. Then you're going to set down the same rules for him about treating other people that you do for your boys. Consequences have to follow bad behavior. And then finally, you're not going to feel sorry for him. It's really important. Often, kids who are feeling badly, who act out, continue to manipulate parents by getting them to feel sorry for them. And feeling sorry for a child is one of the worst things that you can do. If his emotional lability doesn't resolve over the next couple of years, I would encourage you to go to a counselor, maybe on your own, and ask them how you can deal with this. If not, try to go with him to help, to have a counselor help him with his emotional regulation. You've got this. You can do it. Remember, he's not 25, he's 11. He's got a lot of years to know how to get his feelings under control. Dear Dr. Meg, I have a 5.5-year-old girl who refuses to listen to her body when it's time to urinate. She pees her pants multiple times a day. Mostly she starts, then decides to go to the bathroom. Sometimes she completely soaks herself. I've tried bribing her. I've threatened diapers. I've taken privileges away. I often tell her that she's letting her body be in charge instead of her being in charge of her body. Nothing works. She can stay dry at night, but during the day, she just can't seem to control her bladder. During the day, she is not in control of her bladder. Her bladder is controlling how she urinates. So when you try to bribe her or when you try to convince her that she can be in charge of this, you're really making her feel worse because she can't. First thing you need to do is take her to a pediatrician. Some kids have spastic bladders, okay? Their bladder becomes full and they begin to spasm, and kids don't always get the sensation that they need to urinate, and so they start to go and they quickly run to the bathroom because they're embarrassed. The second thing that can cause urination like this is a bladder infection. Kids who have bladder infections can't control their urination. So they will have the feeling that they need to go and go and go, and then they'll go and they won't have anything come out. Or they'll have a burning sensation, or they can have other urination problems. But the bottom line is this: your daughter's not trying to do this. She has a physiologic reason for wetting her pants during the day. Look, she doesn't want to be doing this. She's embarrassed by this. She knows that her friends may know it and that she smells during the day. You need to get her to a pediatrician ASAP and figure out what's going here. Dear Dr. Meg, I have a question. You mentioned the importance of dads having one-on-one time with their kids. We have 2.5-year-old twin boys. We have tried doing one-on-one time, but they always want to be together. It's very hard to leave one and take the other. Would you recommend going by their cues and just take both of them, or push them for one-on-one time. Take them together. Listen to their cues. 2.5-year-old twins feel almost like the same person. They feel that something's missing if they're not with their twin. They feel that things might not be okay if they're not with their own twin. So don't worry about it. For the time being, for the next few years, or really until they're ready to separate a little bit, and sometimes that can come first or second grade. So this could be a while. Take them together. Don't push them to be apart, because the time they're apart, they're not going to enjoy anyway. So one-on-one time is something that you have with kids as they get older, particularly if they're not comfortable having it when you're young. Sounds like you're doing a great time. You're trying to do a lot for your kids, and sometimes we need to just not worry and listen to our instincts and take cues from our kids. Dear Dr. Meg, my wife and I are looking for help with our 3-year-old son in regards to him acting out at daycare and at home. I'm an active duty military officer, and my wife is a full-time employee for the military as an LCSW. We've moved twice since he was born. He's currently 3.5. We're expecting our second son. He's been acting out at daycare, and there are daily reports of issues dealing with pushing tables, hitting, biting, refusing to listen or make safe choices, throwing things, climbing on furniture, and screaming. He experienced normal challenges before, such as yelling at kids when they took his toy or being overtired and not listening, but certainly not the rest of the things. We're concerned about the aggression, if it's in normal limits or not. We're concerned because his behavior seems to be maintaining, if not escalating, at home and at daycare, and we want to make sure we're providing him everything he needs to have the right behavior and or emotional support at this time. Do you have any suggestions? Yes. 3-year-olds cannot articulate their feelings. Why would your son be acting out? Why would he be showing so much aggression? Now, it's normal for 3-year-olds to show some aggression. A lot of kids, when they're in a setting with other kids, have a pecking order. Most have a pecking order. So he could be just trying to figure out where he fits in that. And it sounds like he wants to be right at the top. And to get there, it's not a pretty picture. So that's why he's hitting and doing that. The other thing is, when kids are sad or angry or frustrated, all they know how to do is hit or be mean. That's how sadness and anger come out in kids. It comes out sideways. He can't come to you and say, I don't want to move anymore, or why don't I ever get to see you, Dad or Mom? I hate this. I hate living like this. I'm tired all the time. He can't say that. So my strong guess is that he's acting out because he's not getting enough time from you or Mom. I hate to say that. Also, he doesn't transition well when you move from one place to another. Some kids do, some kids don't. They just don't want to leave their old house. They don't want to leave a daycare. They don't want to leave a school, whatever it is. So here's what's going on. Your son is having a lot of disruptive feelings under the surface and a lot of anger and sadness. It's important to help identify those feelings and teach him what to do with them. For instance, you say to him, son, if you hit somebody at school or you throw something, do you feel angry or sad or frustrated? And then teach him to identify his feelings with one word. After you've done that and he's getting the hang of it, then you say, you know what, when you feel like hitting another person and you're mad, why don't you try this? Go to another part of daycare and start hitting pillows. That's what I do when I'm mad. But you can't hit kids when you're mad. You can't ask him why he's mad because he doesn't know. He's mad because he wants more time with you or more time with Mom. So how do you solve that issue? If there's any way that either one of you can cut back your hours at work, do it. It's well worth it. If there's any way that you can tag team your work, do it. Can somebody work a night shift, somebody work the morning shift? Maybe you can't do it. If when you are home, it's very important to prioritize spending one-on-one time with him. That means when you walk through the door, you're not on your cell phone, you're not on your laptop, You go right over to him, you pick him up, you hug him, and you say, I've missed you. Let's go play a game. Let's go outside. Get him some physical activity. That's about the best you can do. Make sure he does this with you and make sure he does this with mom. And then if you have to move again, you've got to talk to him about it and prepare him for the move long before it happens. I know you can do this. You need to be creative. Even if you have to sacrifice income, do it. It's well worth it. I have a 14-year-old daughter that has been through trauma. I have her in therapy, but she's belligerent, curses at me, and she's disrespectful. She's angry. I try not to feed into that anger by listening and not reacting, but it's very hard sometimes. Please help me. How do I handle her? Well, a kid who's been through trauma is not going to be able to fully work through that trauma until they're in their late teens, early 20s, because they absolutely cannot face the pain. They can't understand the pain, and it's just very complicated for them. So what I would do is you need to just begin to set boundaries for certain behaviors. I know this is the first place to start because I worked in helping to start a halfway home for girls who'd been through trauma and who were acting out exactly like this. They're trying to detach from other people because they're so angry. They don't want to attach to anybody else because they're afraid they're going to be hurt by that person, even if that person's a wonderful person. So first, to keep her safe and to keep her living a fairly normal life, you need to set some clear boundaries. You need to say things like, honey, when you're at home, you can't swear at mom. Nobody in our family swears. So if you swear, here's what's going to happen. Be very clear about the consequences. And when you give a consequence, she's going to throw a fit. She's going to have a major temper tantrum and try to manipulate you. Don't let her. If you take her phone away, don't give it to her in a day if you told her you're going to take it away for 3. You've got to follow through with their consequences. Any questions? I have a great course, Simple Discipline That Works, that will walk you through this. She will be disrespectful. She will be angry. The second thing that you can help her do is say, you know what, honey? People who've been through what you've been through have a lot of anger that gets built up on the inside, and I get it. I've been intensely angry at times too, and I know you must have intense anger. And one of the best things that you can do is get the anger out. Now, there are healthy ways to get the anger out and unhealthy ways. You know, taking it out on me and dad and taking it out on your siblings and taking it out on your teachers only hurts you. So this is what I would like you to do. I want you to write. I want you to keep your own journal that nobody else looks at. And when you're feeling frustrated or happy or sad, whatever, you sit down and write. And I call this, to the patients that I see in my office, their worry journal. A lot of kids with anxiety need to write out specifically what they're afraid of. A lot of kids with OCD, for instance, have tapes that go in their mind over and over and over and over. I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid. I need to read again and read again and read again. When you write those thoughts out, they lose their power. So I would encourage you to help your daughter write out her feelings and her thoughts and let her know nobody else is going to read them. Say she doesn't like to write, but she likes to paint. Have her paint her feelings. Find an outlet for her to express her feelings in a safe way. And finally, hold on. Hold on. Stick with her. Don't leave her. Always let her know that you are there to walk this through with her. And even though she's acting horrible, she can never, ever push herself away from you because you will always love her. That's one of the most important things that you can do. When our kids are acting out or acting out horribly, our temptation is to put them away or to send them somewhere. Don't. You need to pull them closer. One of the first things we did with the girls in the halfway house was keep them connected with an adult as many hours during the day as they could. Almost tie them to that person. The girls hated it. They hated it. They felt like they were being controlled. But what we were really doing is giving them safety. They knew they were out of control, but they saw that the adult with them was in control. So they fought it, and finally gave in and learned to trust that adult. So when she tries to push you away, don't let her. Draw closer to her. It's counterintuitive, but it works. Hang on. You can get there. I have seen so many 13, 14, 15-year-old girls who are acting horrible, even going into prison, who when they're 25 are unrecognizable because they're so well adjusted and happy. But those are the girls whose parents stuck with them. Well, friends, this has been a lot of fun. It's been a ball. I love talking to you like you're sitting in my office. You're good parents. You're writing to me. You're trying. You're working it through. You're trying to understand your kids. And that alone is 75% of the battle. If your kids know that you're there, you're trying, you're working with them to try to help them feel happier and have their lives go better, then they will trust you. They'll lean on you. All you need to do is what you're doing right here. You're at a place where you just don't know whether to move forward in one direction or the other. So give my suggestions a try. They work. I've done this for a lot of years, and I've seen a whole generation of young people and teens come through to grow up to be awesome adults. So I really know what I'm talking about. Until next time, this is Dr. Meg Meeker, and I'm so glad to be with you today on this special episode of our PGK podcast. If you have any other questions, want to learn about the resources I have, go to megmeekermd.com. I have the course Simple Discipline That Works, How to Talk to Your Kids About Puberty and Sex. Got to listen to that one because who wants to do that? Or have any of your questions answered. Thanks so much.